Okay, I'll call everybody's attention. We're going to convene the meeting of the Board of Commissioners. This is Thursday, March 27th, 2025, 9:04. I'm Bill Kanda, Custer County Commissioner. And please silence your phones if you've got them. Smoke them outside if you don't. And we'll call this meeting to order for the pledge. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Second.
You're up.
Oh, for the prayer. Please bow your heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today on this Thursday of our Board of Commissioners meeting. We just ask for your oversight for the meeting and your guidance for the decisions that have to be made for the betterment of our county. We do this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Commissioner Epp?
Present.
Commissioner Vogelsong?
Here.
County Attorney Dan Slater?
Here.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Catholic present.
Okay, we'll have audience introductions first. How many we have online?
We have 6 online.
Okay,
Never will speak up.
6 online,
6
and
online.
Here.
Kelly probably ought to get the names. You got names?
I know.
You don't need them. All right, good, unless they speak. Okay, we'll go around the horn. John, start with you. Name, rank, and serial number.
John Mavis, Custer County IT.
Yes, Griffin.
James Goldberg.
Jim Shadlin.
And Squire Clerk.
I see you're gonna sit through a few boring things, Eileen, but we appreciate you being here. Okay, any amendments?
Yes, we need to move resolution number 2525, the records retention policy, move that to April 10th. And I believe Keaton's already got that moved to that agenda time, but yeah, we need to move that. Attorney Slater's looking at that and reviewing that policy now.
It's short, 50 pages.
90.
Pages?
Yeah.
Big group.
It's a record itself. Okay, anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, and if that's the case, how the minutes look? Got a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the March 20th, 2025 BOCC meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion. Olson.
Yeah, I like them too, they look great. Call for the vote, all in favor of approving the minutes for March 20, 2025. Aye.
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 Commissioner Adams. Got any?
Let's see, so since last meeting, I went to the planning commission workshop on Monday afternoon, and listened to, that. I'd never been to one. Usually we kind of stay away from those, let them make their decisions and do their thing, make their recommendations to us one way or another. But it was interesting, and I think it was a good thing, and I think they appreciated that I was there. So then we had a CWPP. And forgive me for a minute. Well, I hate using acronyms. Anyway. Wildfire Protection Plan,
Right.
Fire Council Working Group meeting. So U.S. Forest Service, BLM was there, Robin Knappy was there, John Van Dorn, that's kind of leading the charge as a citizen in putting that plan together. So went through the map and the zones of Custer and where we think did we agree on those zones and what those zones should be and what's the priority of those zones? And so we kind of discussed that, talked about that. kind of came up with, I think, a pretty decent consensus on what areas have what priorities. The roads are kind of all of our boundary lines for the most part, but also our evacuation routes. So just mapping that out, and the GIS guys that are part of that, were part of that meeting as well. So some good interesting information there. Reviewed AP Tuesday afternoon, went to the Veterans Coffee Wednesday morning. Had a couple new people that I hadn't seen for quite some time there. And then Vernon and Kristen and Caitlin and I sat down with Kelly Pro Assets. They mainly work out of Oklahoma, and their main part of their software is for Oklahoma. The counties, their whole structure of their finances is directed by the state. And so they kind of have a different system, but they have a asset tracking, project tracking aspect that fairly reasonable, about $300,000 a year, would give us a way to track all of our assets and be able to track projects, whether it's a road project or other projects that we have that we assign. It also helps if we have an emergency as well. So kind of interesting conversation there. The other thing I wanted to bring up is when we called the meeting tonight, we didn't actually call that officially in another meeting. And I think what that portrayed to the community is that the BOCC is we're behind this and we're for this. And that's not the message that we wanted out there. So had we done it in a meeting, I think we'd have been able to say, this is why we're having this meeting. We want to help Round Mountain do a public town hall type roundtable, get information, invite people there. So had we done that in a meeting like this, at least it would have been public and it would have been out there. So I just, next time we do something like this, I'd like to go and do it, call that meeting as a
If
board
we have time.
in a.
Sometimes
something.
emergency meetings are necessary.
Yeah.
In this case, everybody was surprised, and people are gonna learn more. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I'll say before Paul does is, on planning commission meetings, the commissioners don't attend the meetings where they discuss and make a recommendation for the board to consider. Because if a commissioner sits in there, then the other two commissioners are behind and not have the information that commissioner has. Also, the commissioner cannot interact with them during that time either, because then they're playing to the commissioner who's going to be voting on it. So you need an independent look, people that are represented, every aspect of the population of the county on what the planning commission comes together and votes on. Workshops are a different story, and that's what Lucas pointed out. It was, they just had to get their arms around what we got to deal with Round Mountain, basically. And so that's just to make it clear. Okay.
The only thing I have to add, Paul, is on here, is that I attended the workshop also with Lucas, and it was very informative. I learned a lot that day from the commission.
Explain it, they actually, Dave Snyder did a good presentation. Well,
They did.
I heard, I didn't attend it.
And they,
Another meeting.
and during that, they did ask a few questions about road and bridge, and I was glad to be there for that assistance that they were doing, and that was on another subject. And then I also ended up at the tail end of the meeting with Jackie with the software, and I just have to, for the amount of money that we'd be putting out for it, with the technology we can gain from it, very informational and everything, and we should look at that down the road to see if it could enhance our credibility of controlling inventory and all that. So that was a very good meeting that I got on about the end and a half of it. So other than that, that's about all I had there.
Right, and then both of those meetings were great. I participated in a couple of them as well. With mainly, I've been working on this issue with Round Mountain that will help, and I hope to get as many people there. We wanted to get the gym lined up for it, but the trouble was they're on spring break and they couldn't get the gymnasium, expecting maybe a big crowd of people. So the next choice was Lang Hall, which has its issues, but John's been working hard at fixing the mics up there. We're gonna have better microphone control. There was some confusion, and I'll kind of try to get that straightened out right now. People are allowed to make comments. It said written comments, and it implied only that, and we're just gonna take data. The purpose of the meeting is to get information to everybody, the citizens, the board members of the water board, the BOCC itself, the trustees of each town. They all should be here because this is a very significant problem that affects everybody in the county, and differently, in different ways. And that's why we took it on ourselves, because we, as the county commissioners, have a vested interest in all aspects of that, including the welfare of the towns themselves. So that's gonna be tonight at 5 o'clock to 7, so if you can be there, be there. There's not gonna be hamburgers, but maybe a snack or two. And that, anything else, guys?
No.
No, we're good.
Okay, attorney items.
Just one thing, I think that whenever we're served with a lawsuit, I'm supposed to advise you at the next Board of County Commissioners meeting. And I think all of you know this, is that privately, but you know this has happened. We were served with a lawsuit, an employer, a former employee, suing the board, as well as a couple of employees that have been referred to insurance counsel.
Speak up.
Sorry, and they've taken that up, so, okay, everything's on track with that. I don't really think that lawsuit has a whole lot of merit, but, you know, the insurance company has it.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Okay. And, we don't have anything from Caitlin and Kelly. You got anything to tell us?
No.
Okay, unfinished business. I don't think we have any.
No, sir.
I don't have.
Okay, new business. We're gonna try another attack here. These are accounts payable first, and so let's pull that up.
So in the spirit of, and I was hoping, well, I knew Caitlin was gonna be gone, so hopefully next time we do APs, it'll be up on the screen. But it's everything 5,000 and above that we've spent money on, and this time, the amount is pretty high, so I definitely wanted to go through all the expenses and kind of explain them a little bit more. But planning and zoning, statewide internet portal authority, Schneider Geospatial, this is a company that we're paying to scan all of our stuff in and use it to hold all of our documents. This is largely getting paid for by a grant. That was $21,912. The assessor had its governmental software, GSA, that fee got hit this month. That's $97.37.50. Building and ground, the CenturyLink for our phone lines was $5,183 this last month. The sheriff, that Axon Enterprises, which is the body cams and the tasers, that program, that's $32,533.48. So there's a lot of one-time fees that just always hit around this March, April time. The patrol vehicles, we had 2 accidents that created $5,360 in damage on one and $5,042 on another one. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Road and Bridge, McFarland Oil Fuel, Road and Bridge Shop, $22,900 for fuel. Self-insurance always hits in March, and so this is the workman's comp portion. We've got the liability portion will hit next month, and workman's comp is this month. Building and grounds insurance was $75,393, and road and bridge insurance is $37,696. So building and grounds is every department other than road and bridge. We had also capital improvement for the assessor, so that same software, some of it is charged to his account. The startup fees that are taken over 5 years goes to capital improvement. So that was $23,000, and this is a one-time, 1 year, or this is an annual cost. We had capital improvement out at the airport, Eaton Sales and Service, Jet A tank, for 35% of the contract. It was billed out in 35% increments, $123,987. Armstrong Consultants for the project install of the fuel system, $7,000. And then Four Rivers Equipment for the double drum roller, $65,900. And then emergency services, so this is free comm dispatch, and this is billed quarterly at $48,308. So that was our big, all above 5,000 amounts.
Some grand total of $789,014.64.
No,
Is that right? No. What'd you get? Oh, there it is. It's the bottom of it.
you gotta go to the newest AP.
Okay, you got it. Give them some though.
$560,764.64.
Okay. Got a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the resolutions that Commissioner have read out, the total amount of, the,
$560,764.64.
I recommend that we accept that amount and
Approve
approve the
the AP report.
EAP report.
Second. I'll second. Been moved and seconded, any discussion?
None for me.
Comments out there, Jim?
This is kind of an obvious comment, but just to get it out there, all those large sums which are always hidden in March and April, since you're aware of them, they are always budgeted for in March and April.
Yes.
So this is not a surprise or anything
No.
like that.
No, it's,
Told you it was up.
yeah, it's why the self-insurance has to be funded upfront, and then we take in all the tax collections through June. And then that's gotta fund the next year's, whatever our self-insurance is, so, which we usually get quotes for those in October, November, so. Then if we need to go, hey, we're not gonna have enough because our rates have gone up, then we gotta either adjust the mill levy for next year, and maybe then do a budget resolution to pull a little bit out of the budget, general fund, cash reserves to fill that, so.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna do something a little bit different, a little more streamlined. These, we've got to vote first.
Yep.
So all in favor of approving the AP report, say aye, please.
Aye.
Paul?
Both aye.
Kanda, aye. So I'm so excited about the next issue. These other, we really have a slate of resolutions. There's 16 of, or 16 through 22, 23.
You wanna do the Westcliff, Silvercliff cleanup day
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, let's do that first. I'm sorry, I was looking at the resolution.
You're really excited about
I'm
this.
so excited. All right, let's do towns of Silvercliff. That way Eileen can have. Towns, this is next,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
come on
come.
up. Towns of Silvercliff and Westcliff cleanup day she wants to talk about. Sorry, Eileen, I
That's okay.
scared you.
So this is our annual Westcliff Silvercliff Cleanup Day. Oak disposal is available May 10th, so we're trying to schedule it for that day. I spoke with Brian out at the landfill, he was good with that.
It's May 10th, did you hear? Everybody can hear it on the record.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May 10th, and then we also have an electronic recycle truck come in that will park at the Dome parking lot that we've done for the last 4 years. They can actually make it on the same day.
Awesome.
So they will be there as well, so there's a charge for like the older TVs or monitors with the back part, and everything else I believe is free. He said there might be one change, and I can't remember what that was for. But for the electronic, that is free. We do pay for the mattresses that get picked up. Brian will bill us
So they
both
put
towns for
the
that.
part and the electronics in a separate pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brings like a semi truck and they take it to the dome and he takes it from people and then they take it off and recycle it.
Is this the group out of Pueblo?
Springs.
Okay. It might be, it's the same outfit.
Yeah, he used to be in Pueblo, now he's in Springs. It's-
This is the
they call him.
veterans of, isn't it? Or is,
Yeah, I believe he is. So it's the same guy that's been here for the last 3 years with us.
Okay.
So yeah, so it worked out this year that he can be here on the same day, so.
great.
So what do we want to pass? What's the word?
I guess
So I'll
I have to ask
make-
for dumps.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we waive the dump fees, the landfill fees for the May 10th cleanup for West Cliff and Silver Cliff.
Vogelsong will second that motion.
Okay, the only question I have is, are people in the county gonna come in here and throw some stuff on it? How do you know? Does it matter?
It's happened, but.
I'm not planning.
Well,
Yeah.
if it's electronics,
That's
I
open
hope
to
they
everybody.
do.
That's what I
I hope they do,
They can come in
because-
and do that. They
Yes,
pay for it.
electronics is open to the whole county. The other cleanup day is just on the curb in front of your house. And you know, I guess if it happens,
But
but,
that's okay.
but yeah, and then we do have, Sunny Dowdy and, Scrap and Bob will do all the scrap metal.
awesome.
So that'll help
Awesome.
those two guys out too.
Where are they gonna be at?
They just run around and pick it all up.
Okay, awesome.
They just,
So if you have something, let you know.
yes, Old Towns. I have flyers, I'll update now that we have permission, we'll get those out. If you have big stuff, we do ask that you call either West Cliff or Silver Cliff, wherever you were at, and let the clerks know.
Okay.
So we make sure we get the right guys to those locations.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments?
Would
Kathy?
there be a fee for, radio batteries?
So we don't pick up batteries or tires. I'm just not able to take those. And
Auto
there's a
batteries for
landfill.
sure. I'm sure a few AAA's get tossed in the
Sure,
bag
yeah.
somewhere.
We don't take household trash. So it's really just kind of outside cleanup.
Yeah, cleanup, it's
Yeah.
scrap, wood.
Furniture,
Furniture.
we do let them put furniture out.
Does that know, do people know that? Is
Yes,
it
in the-
published that way?
yes.
It says no bag, no trash bag.
Yes, no household, yep,
Okay.
no household or construction. Like
Like
if you're building a house, you can't put
drywall.
everything out there.
I've got one about appliances, like refrigerators, freezers, or like washing machines or anything.
The electronic guy can take anything without Freon. I think Sunny and, Scrap and Bob will pick up those others and do what
If they
they.
brought it there, it'd be okay.
Yeah, if it's out on the curb and we have you on the list, those two gentlemen will pick up anything with Freon and do their process. But
I've read about R11 or before that, 12. Yeah, I think it's R14 or 12. Some of the older ones have R12 coolant in it.
You don't like it with anything.
Yeah, it takes special pumping to do that.
yeah,
Any other comments? Anything online, John?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving, waiving the fee for the dump from May 10th, a day for Silver Cliff and Westwood, say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Focus on that.
Canned aye.
Good deal.
All right, thanks.
thank you, gentlemen, have a good day.
Thank you.
Now we can do that.
No, yeah,
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resolutions that are involving a resolution for supplemental budget and appropriation, a resolution appropriating additional sums of money to defray expenses in excess of amounts budgeted for Custer County, Colorado. These are resolutions 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And so I'm going to move that we approve is that what we're doing? We approve these resolutions? Adopt these resolutions 16 through 23. And then we will, get a second on that, we'll discuss them individually
summarize.
and summarize each one, so we're not saying the same thing over and over. Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Resolutions appropriating additional sums of money to defray expenses in excess of the amount budgeted for Custer County, Colorado. First one up for discussion would be the Commissioner Health Insurance. 16, Brian.
So, this budget resolution appropriates funds to cover, the insurance fund for the commissioners. Sorry, this resolution appropriates $13,650 to cover approximately 10 months of, commissioner insurance, which needs to be budgeted. It wasn't budgeted at the beginning of the year, but circumstances have changed. So, that would move money into the commissioner insurance line.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I'll second that.
No, it's all right. Just, is there anything you want to change?
Oh, change.
Discussion that might impact it. Good, huh?
Yeah.
All right, next one is the Veteran Service Office Training Resolution.
So the Veteran Service Officer has come to us and asked for an increase in his training, education and training, and data processing communications budget because he has a new employee that needs to go through some specific training in order to serve the veterans, and also requires a $500 software license to work with the VSO. Apparently the VSO only pays for one. The Colorado Veterans Services only pay for one. He needs a second one for his new employee. So $5,500 for the training that they need to go to, and $500 for that software license.
Okay, so to be clear for everybody, that section 1 is where we see the appropriation for $6,000. And section 2 of this resolution, like all of these, this is for how it's being distributed, and that's the $5,500 is designated as $500. So any other discussion on that?
The only thing I'd add to that, there's been a lot of changes in the VA benefits and everything where some of that training is needed. And that it's just not going and recertifying the same stuff. A lot of it changed this year.
So we're good with this as written.
Aye.
Okay, all right, next.
This line, so 2518, this moves money that was allocated through the LATCF grant to amount of $20,800, which will cover the salary for the VSO part-time assistant.
That's gonna come out of the 18 fund, right? Because that's where we put the rest of it
Was
before
it
we
the
decided to.
18 of the contingency fund.
Yeah, we put out, it was a contingency fund. And we meant to, we just made a mistake there when we put it all in there, we were supposed to grab.
I'll move that money back from the contingency, which is, was that the 30? The
Yeah,
30 fund
that
back
30
to the
fund.
10 to cover this.
Okay.
But we have to appropriate the funds
First.
for this line, no
Yeah,
matter what.
you're right, so, no, absolutely.
Okay, any other clarification?
No?
Anybody got a comment on this? Okay, next.
So 2519 appropriates $66,000 in the capital improvement fund and moves it into the capital improvement fund for road and bridge, also in the 50 fund, to the amount of $66,000 to defray the costs for capital purchases of road maintenance equipment. That's the roller that you guys authorized a few weeks ago. This moves the money there and allows us to pay for that.
Okay. Any discussion on
And I don't know if it got sold or not, I haven't got back up with Vince, but we put the old one up for auction, and that money will go back into the capital reserve, so.
And I'll receipt that when that comes in.
Yes.
Present another resolution, budget resolution.
that? Okay, next.
2520. So this one, we passed a budget resolution a little while back for $49,500, but not all of the information had gotten to finance. This was for the wood chipper for emergency management. Not all of the information had gotten to finance. There was actually a grant being covering this expense. So this is kind of two parts. By passing this resolution 2520, we will appropriate the full amount, $99,000, from the 60 fund balance. Then we need to also vote to, what's the word, Kelly? Rescind 2509, which was the incomplete movement. Like I said, finance didn't have all the data on this, so this is the complete budget resolution that needs to happen. And 2509 needs to be rescinded.
So is that included in the motion, we only have to vote once if we have to?
Well, you didn't make it part of the motion, and I'm concerned that that wasn't listed on the agenda for some.
Right, so we could do that next
I think we'll have to do it next time.
I'll work with Caitlin to make sure that that's on there appropriately.
time. If it was in written, then we could have done it.
Yes, it was in this resolution that would apply, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
Well, let me ask, on this one, we need to rescind that other resolution at the same time we adopt this one, don't we? I mean, otherwise we've got,
Can you appropriate it, is the general fund big enough to do it?
Well, so right, the other one transferred 50,000 already. This one's gonna do another 100,000. So what we need to do is take the money that we transferred the first time and transfer that back.
okay.
No transfers have been made.
Yeah.
That transfer has not actually been made yet.
Not physically,
So, not
but
physically.
on paper.
But on
it
paper,
has.
yeah,
Yeah, you should.
Not in the system, it hasn't.
Okay,
that's okay.
all right, that's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
I'll take
So
it.
instead of rescinding it.
Well, no, we
that's
still
a-
need to, well, either way,
We can
We need to
approve it.
res-
We're gonna take, we
rescind
can
it is
approve
probably the
this.
best thing.
Yeah,
to
And
do.
we'll
because
rescind
then
this
this
one
corrects
separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we take this one off and then rescind the
No.
other and then do this one?
No, we'll approve it as that, as it's written,
Okay,
but we'll have another one to rescind the.
And I'll talk to Caitlin about that.
Okay.
We'll put it on April 10th to resend that one.
Okay. Okay, next one.
moving on to 2521. This, excuse me. So, clerk to the board, Kelly Camper, has procured a grant to cover recording services. And this resolution, in the amount of $69,209.34, will essentially be assigned to her account codes for expenses that she will incur this year for recording services. When we actually get the award letter for the rest of, for the actual money, which I understand has been signed and will be released soon, I'll come back with another resolution for you receiving that money and where it goes.
Comment? Okay, next.
2522. Let's see. All right, so last year, the county and the sheriff's office received certain unexpected rebates from far in the past, and we made a resolution accepting those rebates we made a resolution accepting those rebates, basically turning old money into new money. In the budgeting process, those appropriations were not, they didn't give me the numbers to roll them over. We've since corrected that. This is assigning the remainder of that old money and assigning it to specific locations. $24,210 is the remaining amount that's just sitting in the general fund waiting for allocation. It is going into the patrol education and training. It is going into patrol vehicle maintenance, and $13,000, which was donated to the ops dive team, is being allocated to the dive team in the sheriff's office. 1,300, excuse me, 1,300.
Resource officer training.
Yes, they are using this money, and that's originally what it was spent for, but it has no restrictions on it. It's old money becoming new money. But they are using it specifically to train the new school resource officer and upfit an SRO vehicle.
So is the 1,300 gonna be coming out of the general fund as well?
It is in the general fund, yes.
So that is not included in that 24,210.
Oh, okay. Then if we can set that one aside, and come back to it,
Okay,
And we'll do that with you.
do that next week?
Yeah.
or we'll do it
2
on the
weeks.
10th, yeah.
So I think you need a motion to amend the motion to remove 25, 22.
Yeah, we'll do
from the
that
motion.
at the end of it.
Okay.
And 25, 23, we have an appropriation of $125,000 to the capital improvement fund for the purposes of the defraying the cost of the fuel system upgrade at the airport. This is this should cover the remainder of the fuel system upgrade, and we are supposed to be getting this back from CDOT. We don't know when that will be coming back, but
As soon as it's spent and I got a check, I can submit it.
okay. And well, this allows us to write that
Copy
check.
of yeah, let's
Understood.
write it and
Okay.
we can get it back. Any other comments on that?
No,
No comment.
Okay, last one.
Is there another?
No
That's
25.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's right, we did. Okay, so I need a move to amend for the adoption of the slate to remove item number, resolution 2522. Slate.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to remove resolution 2522 for consideration on this meeting. Favor?
aye.
Vogels, aye.
And okay, back to the original motion then, we are gonna approval of the slate as amended. Any other discussion? Jim?
A couple comments and a couple of questions. First comment is, I understand, although I'm a little questioning whether this is more efficient or not, but I understand grouping resolutions together in order to do one motion to pass all of them. I would caution you on how you go about doing that in the future, and use the example of the school board trying to pass a whole series of items without discussion. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That created quite a brouhaha.
A good point, let me comment on your comment, because that's, I've seen that, and I don't approve of, and those are very diverse resolutions, they find a lot, and that's crazy. This, we had to we gave you the discussion on each one of these.
Right, I understand.
Where we saved the time was not reading everything.
Yeah, I'm just familiar with something called antigenic drift. So,
Okay, we'll keep the anagenes out of here.
yeah, anyway, now the question is, the Veteran Service Office Assistant was that a budgeted slot for an employee?
Yeah, we budgeted that with LATCF funds. We just didn't move that money in there when we did the budget for this year, when we adopted the budget.
Was the training budgeted for that person at the same time?
No, and he got, this kind of came up because he got asked to attend some of those trainings that the VSOs, the associations are given. And he thought, well, if I'm gonna go, because he wasn't planning on attending most of these, but they really want him to be there and be present in those because he's.
Yeah,
It came up later.
all that's well and good, it just strikes me as odd, if you budget for a future employee, you usually budget for the ancillary onboarding costs, which include training. I'm just a little surprised that that wasn't done at the time.
That was probably a little bit my fault, because I was really trying to balance the general fund budget, and I pulled.
Okay, I'm not trying to lay blame, don't fret.
I get you.
And then here's a dumb question. Okay, so you had a resolution for paying for the grant match for the chipper, which was the 49,000?
Yeah.
49.5.
But then, didn't have enough information, so the actual number is 100 or something.
Yes. Yeah, so buying the chipper was 100,000, the grant's for half of that, 50%. But we have to expend it all and then get reimbursement for half of it.
Okay, so my question is, why isn't resolution 2520 just for the difference between the first one and what you need to pay total?
Because
Then you don't have to rescind anything.
this goes into past year audits and how
Okay,
the
never mind.
auditors are required.
Tracking.
It's better tracking, yes.
Good enough.
It's better tracking. So that's why.
Fine tunes it.
Okay.
Joy Anderson wants to know, why are these resolutions not available to read and review by citizens before being approved? And please read resolution 2525 before approval.
25, we've moved to July, to April 10th.
Considering how many pages, maybe it will be July. This is
No,
our
we-
policy right here.
Right, yeah, it's 100 and some pages, so whatever it is.
Well, we've never done that before. We just bring the resolutions in, people have time to comment on
Her response is, how do we ask questions?
it by listening. Ask a question, she get able to ask a question, is she on something that she can't?
Yeah, she's typing in chat. She's not, I don't know if she maybe doesn't have the ability to.
Probably.
Speakers, yeah.
Yeah, you can ask if she has a question now. Does she have one that's specific?
It is not allowing me to raise my hand.
Well, can you
Oh,
recognize her
Somebody
and
else
answer me?
comment.
it's Joy Anderson and
We can't unmute someone
I don't
else,
think
they
we
have to
can.
unmute themselves.
Oh,
You have to chat to ask her to unmute herself.
Oh, she's unmuted herself.
okay. So she can talk now if she wants.
go ahead, Joy, if you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
And you can ask questions, you can raise, I know he wouldn't let you raise hands for some reason.
That's all right. Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Can you hear us?
evidently not. You can't hear us, Joy.
I need to know if you guys can hear me or not.
Can you hear us, John?
Can we, yeah, we can.
We can, she can't hear us, just shake your head, John.
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So my question is, I mean, these resolutions come up and I know you allow us to have time to comment, but if we don't get to see them ahead of time, how can we even comment?
If the agenda is published, and we haven't been putting the attachments, we try as many as we can, but we can't do it until the minutes are approved, and we put it in, that's been the policy.
Yeah, I know that you have an
Maybe we can-
agenda.
Understand.
You have an agenda, but the agenda doesn't tell us anything about what the resolution actually is.
I understand.
And that's why I think the commissioners do their best to read out the key points in the resolution as it's being presented, which they did today.
See, some of these resolutions, they would have to be printed up 24 hours before, which they are usually. And maybe we could post it with the agenda, and I guess they wanted to.
If we really wanted to do it, we'd have to set, okay, this is our agenda for 2 weeks out. Everything has to be posted for that agenda a week before that. and then no changes to that agenda can
Right,
happen,
you can't do that.
because then you're changing the information before that.
We can change it.
That
Well,
would
you
be-
don't, it doesn't necessarily change the agenda, it just changes when it might come up, but at least we'd be able to see the resolutions. I mean, that would provide the open and transparency that we need for everybody to be able to know what's being passed.
It still won't, count for 24 hours before, because the resolution will be necessary, and we'll have to do it only 24 hours before. That would be the best.
I'll see what I can do to get it at least so that it's with the agenda, posted before the meeting starts, so as we're having the meeting, those that
Look
are
at it, review it.
online
May
can
not
go and
guarantee all of them.
review it as we go
Yeah.
through the meeting.
Well,
Okay.
that would be
Okay.
great. I mean, if you have a 24-hour, you have to have the agenda 24 hours ahead of time, then I would think they could be posted 24 hours ahead of time.
That's exactly right.
I'll try to work
We
on
got a
that.
question here, Jim, go ahead.
In the past, if I've seen an agenda item that is a resolution that I am curious about, I will request a copy of that draft resolution to review first. That's the easiest and the simplest way, I would think.
It'd be a lot easier,
Citizens
less money
interested in
spent
what's up there.
to publish it. Which you can always do, Joy. All questions we try to accommodate within reason.
Yeah, it's just that there's no time to request it if you're saying that they're only put up 24
Some
hours
of them
ahead
can,
of the meeting.
some of them are, that's true, only, there'll be a few that will always be that case.
Well, if it's published, it's a draft resolution until it's passed, so.
Right.
So the draft is, as soon as it's listed, it's available
Published.
as a draft.
Right.
You can call and get
And
it,
that's a week ahead almost nowadays.
yeah. Okay, thanks, Joy. Any other comments?
Nope, that's the big one.
Okey-dokey.
See what we can do.
So given that, where are we now?
Need to vote.
We got it removed already. Is, any other discussion? Hearing none, let's vote to adopt the slate as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bogus on aye.
And aye. Okay, next is the short-term rental moratorium. We're briefing that.
You want me to take that one? Okay, this is from Dorothy, and it's Custer County Resolution 2524. The resolution modifies the portion of Custer County zoning, resolution concerning short-term rental permits to establish a moratorium on new applications for such permits. And this is coming about because of some changes that are coming from the state. Dorothy and I have talked about this quite a few times. And what it does is it's to take the applications and not approve the applications. And there's a moratorium to be through December 31st of 2025 to be placed on the approval of new short-term rental permits by Custer County. And we're doing that in order to try to get in compliance with the new state regulations, and that is in the next paragraph, which I'll explain. Therefore, the recommendations have been made because the Planning Commission has determined that it is necessary to further regulate and control short-term rental properties to protect, the neighborhoods and the rural nature of our county. The Planning Commission is also concerned about new regulations that are coming out by the state on septic tanks and some other matters that relate to that. And those regulations impact on the use of private properties and short-term rental properties. And the Planning Commission believes that the further regulations consist, with the new state regulations may be needed to be Custer County zoning resolutions. So recapping that, it's that the state's putting more regulations on the size of the septic tanks that are put into short-term rental agreements. So what this resolution is doing is it's asking for a moratorium only to run to the December 31st of this year. and it automatically go back into normal permit requests and everything being accepted and passed or approved
Under new regulations.
under a new regulation to meet the state requirements. So, and it's also about, one, the septic tanks and the consolidation of how many rental properties are available for the permits, and also the saturation of a certain area and not disturbing the actual neighbors of that facility. And so that's going to be in that, they're going to be reviewing that and bringing that as.
There'll be hearings on that for
They'll-
everybody.
Yeah, they're gonna have hearings on it, open discussion, figure out what the state is going to mandate, and then get in line with the state. Therefore, it's gonna be most likely grandfathered for a while, and then those septic systems, the way that it's read, is going to have to come up to that standard for the, so if you have a 3-bedroom house, for instance, and it's a short-term rental, and you have a septic tank that's not large enough, they're going to try to change from number of bedrooms to number of beds, excuse me. They're gonna go by the number of beds in the homes instead of what is currently on the books. And they're saying that is going to help regulate the septic systems and everything and the sizes required.
Everybody will be pulling out their beds.
So there's been quite a bit of discussions through the board and everything, and until the state comes out with their ruling exactly what those changes are, they just ask for the moratorium to be till the end of December.
Makes sense.
That is what this resolution is about.
Okay, I move we adopt resolution 2524 so we can discuss it.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt 2524. A resolution modifying a portion of the Custer County zoning resolution concerning short-term rentals permit to establish a moratorium on applications for such permits as stated. Okay, any discussion here?
This restriction herein shall not apply to property located solely within the town of Silver Cliff or the town of West Cliff, just to clarify that.
Right.
They are separately controlled. Any comments here? Kathy?
Are there any anticipated personnel changes, like any board elections coming up for the Planning and Zoning Commission before December 31st?
No,
The board's not elected?
they're appointed.
No,
Yeah.
they're appointed.
Point.
Okay,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay,
Unless
There has
somebody,
not
somebody
been-
could get sick.
right,
There has not been any discussion.
right,
No.
yeah.
I think the
No.
appointments were made at the beginning of this
This
particular.
January is when.
Fiscal year, their calendar year is the fiscal year.
Jim?
Yeah, so as I understand it, when the state regulations come down, the planning zoning board will be revising the resolution, the zoning resolution. Regulate, well, but it's a zoning
Yeah,
resolution.
That's right,
They
that's
reside-
correct, yeah.
They have to reside, that will take time.
Yeah.
I thought I heard Mr. Vogelsong say that they were going to have a moratorium on approval of.
Submission and approval. They're not gonna approve
All right,
any.
so there's
Moratorium on
basically a halt to short-term rental applications, permit applications.
Correct.
Let me read the actual language of what the board is adopting.
Okay.
Effective immediately, no new applications will be accepted by the Custer County Planning and Zoning Department for a short-term rental permit. Number 2, a moratorium shall be placed on the consideration and approval of any new short-term rental permit. Number 3, the provisions of this resolution shall remain in effect only to and through December 31st, 2025. They shall automatically expire after that date with no further action from the BOCC necessary to reinstate the provisions of the Custer County zoning resolution with respect to short-term rental permits. Number 4, nothing herein shall prevent an owner of a property that is currently subject to a short-term rental permit from continuing to operate under the terms of that permit or to apply for renewal of such permit under the terms and conditions now existing in the Custer County zoning resolution. And number 5, The restrictions herein shall not apply to property located solely within either the town of Silver Cliff or the town of West Cliff.
Okay.
So it's grandfathered, but the
Well,
new regulations
No, my
right now
concern
could
was
change.
that we'd be
Yeah.
accepting applications,
No.
which involves a fee, but not approving anything.
Right,
And that would be kind of unfair.
right.
I seriously doubt you'll get the resolution, zoning resolution finalized by the 31st
Well,
of
we may
December.
not
but
understand the
good luck.
state how it's gonna do yet by
Yeah,
that time.
good luck.
Period. Good luck.
So, okay, that answers my question.
Okay.
We have another online comment.
Okay,
Joy
Nate.
Anderson.
Joy, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
We can hear you. Go for it.
Okay. So it's kind of unusual for me to think about this. It seems rather unusual that we would actually prevent moving forward with short-term rentals when the legislation hasn't even passed yet. And we don't know when it will or how long it will take for us to get the planning and zoning in line with the state. Why not just wait till the state actually approves the new legislation and then we can do the moratorium?
We'll let Dan answer that for you.
Well, so the new regulations that are coming down from the state, I don't believe are statutory regulations. They're regulations from the Department of Public Health and Environment, which we know are coming down and they've been proposed. We just don't have final language from them, is my understanding.
Correct.
But in addition to that, planning and zoning has indicated that they have some issues with how the current zoning resolution is working with respect to how permits are approved or considered, and they wanted additional
It's just a
language.
revision of our current.
Yeah, we've had, I think in the last meeting, we had a couple of permits that were presented, and one of them had some questions that, quite frankly, weren't really answered by the zoning resolution that the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to clarify as well. And that's another reason for the moratorium. It's not just that there's gonna be additional septic regulations, but also that I think planning and zoning has some issues with how the current resolution is working in practice.
In some areas.
Didn't we just have a moratorium on short-term rentals a couple of years ago?
Well, there's a moratorium on, one short term.
Subdivisions.
Yeah, it's PUDs.
Subdivisions.
PUDs, it was subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments?
I think Deb Adams had a
Yes,
comment.
yes.
Yes, so I was at the planning commission meeting when they spoke about short-term rentals. And I did bring it to everyone's attention that Custer County has about 50 permits, yet according to data that tourism has received, we have over 80 short-term rentals in unincorporated county. So I think with 30 short-term rentals operating without a permit, this moratorium will just encourage others to operate without a permit.
Good point.
I would say that planning and zoning has been a lot more aggressive in terms of not just short-term rentals, but generally not, properties that are not compliant with the zoning resolution in terms of prosecuting.
Right, they all have to be enforced.
Yeah, and so that's something I don't know that we've seen in the past few years, but we are seeing now.
And that'll give us time to go after them as well.
Yeah,
Sure.
but the problem is you haven't identified the ones, and Dorothy doesn't have the time or the manpower to go through the Airbnb platform to figure out who has a permit and who doesn't. And I'm only going by the key data that we have received, and I will be sending a screenshot of the Custer County map that shows where all the short-term rentals are. Unfortunately, with this particular program, it is not identifying where all the short-term rentals are. I will just remind the BOCC, and it really only applies to Bill, who was a commissioner at the time, that Dorothy had an opportunity for $3,000 to work with Granicus to identify all the short-term rentals in the county, but the BOCC opted not to make that investment. So, Dorothy has said there's no way to enforce or find these short-term rentals that are operating without a permit. And I think many people believe or feel that they know there won't be enforcement, so they will just continue doing what they're doing.
Thanks for your comment. We'll see about that. That's my comment. And that's another reason that they need to meet and discuss this. That can be.
Yeah, but the problem is that there's no way to identify them. So
Right now, that doesn't mean something can't be done in the future, Debbie. That's the point.
I understand
The moratorium's a
that.
good thing right now, and then we can figure out how we're gonna enforce everything. Okay. Anything else?
I would, if we would decide to move forward with this and approve this, I would hope that with not doing any new ones, hopefully we can focus more of our time on going after those that are not in compliance with our regulations.
Trying to verify.
And Dorothy is gonna get a part-time worker here,
Right.
fairly soon, so,
That's
for a while anyway, so. but
Any other comments?
We're getting her some help.
Okay. Hearing none, I call for the vote. Lucas?
Aye.
Bogus, aye.
Hand aye. Okay. Next up, nothing. Okay, any public comment in addition, thing to think about? Hearing none, I adjourn this meeting immediately at 10:05.
Some of our boring.
That's a good one. It's,
Wait, I have one. Real quick, please.
is that Rob?
That's Klein.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Rob. Move
Yeah.
real- Even though it won't mean anything. It's fine. Go ahead.
Feel free.
If it does.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, coming from Westmore into Westcliff on Highway 96, where all those concrete barriers are there. I think that white marker that's on the ground there has got to be painted black, because at nighttime, when you're not really sure of where you're going, you're going to be running right into those concrete barriers right there. So I think that's pretty much a danger area there.
I came up there at night the other night.
Who is
They
it?
just repainted, I just noticed
That's
today
Rob.
that they
That's
repainted.
Rob.
The lines.
Rob, I noticed, Paul Otis on here, I seen those when I came up the other day and they were removing the lines. And I think it's because the DOT has determined that those barricades have to be there longer, and they're putting new lines, striping all the way through that whole construction zone.
Yeah, they do have a flag now.
Yeah, they're brand new, they were, I happened to notice that very specifically this morning.
Okay. Well, thanks for the heads
Thank you,
up,
guys.
Rob.
Great job, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody.
Chairs go up today?